It is 6 o'clock. It is 6 o'clock. I'd like to call this Brunswick City Commission regularly scheduled commission meeting to order for Wednesday, May 15th, 2024. If could all please stand for our invocation and pledge of allegiance. Our invocation will be brought by Pastor Shannon Miller, Living by Faith Ministries. Thank you for being with us, Pastor Miller.
Lord, we look to the hill for which cometh our help, and our help cometh from the Lord who made the heavens and the earth. And Lord, we just want to start by telling you thank you for what you're doing and good to do here in the city of Brunswick, Georgia. Father, we thank you for each and every one that came out tonight to get their voices heard, Lord. Lord, we ask that you touch our commissioner and touch our mayor. We know that they have a job to do and the decisions they have to make. Lord, we ask that you encourage them, lead them, direct them, show them the way. In Jesus' name, amen.
The flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it is one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Miller, for your leadership in our community. I would like to open it now for the adoption and approval of the May 15, 2024 regular meeting agenda. Are there any addendums or sections?
Mayor, I'd like to remove items 15 and 16 under the city attorney's items, and then also remove item number 9 to a later date.
We have that as a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Hearing from the second, all those in favor, show by the usual sign of aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same. Hearing none, the motion passes. We will now open it for the adoption of the amended agenda. We'll open that for a motion.
Motion to approve the agenda as adapted.
Hearing the first, do I hear?
Second.
Hearing the first and the second, all those in favor, show by the usual sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Hearing none, the motion passes and the agenda is adopted. We'll now move on to a comment. City attorney again. City Clerk Atkinson. Any public? Wonderful. One for public comment at this time. We will take a moment. I want to say real quick, we have a Golden Isles, Brunswick, St. Simon's Island legend in the house, Zach Johnson, a major champion. We know this is major championship season, so it's a blessing to have you with us. We know you're here for an amazing reason, but I just wanted to stop and say thank you for being with us tonight. Now it's one of our favorite parts. I'm going to do this from down there. So the first one we have up is the recognition of the Brunswick Parks Recreation and Parks State Track Champion. So who are a part of the State Track Championship team? Will you come up to the front for me?
Y'all balance out over here. Flat down this way.
There we go. Before we get into the proclamation, we're going to have a word from our championship winning Parks and Rec director. Okay.
Well, thank you. Say like they say in church, I won't be before you long. But but this is a exciting group. This is not all of them, but these are the ones that get here today. I do think that it's very, very important that the kids here and the ones that are not, I just want to briefly go over, and I'm going to call the names of the ones that are here. And I just ask that you wave your hands when I get there. We have Ava Mountain. Ava has a gold 800 and a bronze in the 1600. She's also a part of a team that I'll come back to. We have Kimber Alderman. We have Isabella Dixon. We have Demery Mangrum, Madison Butler, Quentin King, Aisha Mountain. We have Carday Morton. We have Brody Marshall, McKinley Thomas, Antonia Pierce, Ava Ovington, Damari Mangrum. I'm gonna get that sister name right. Damari Mangrum. We have Mohani Banks, Drayton Gilmore, Braylon Bolden, Carson Bird, Camden Drayton. Now, I did that all good because I thought I was gonna mess up somebody's name. But I do want to say something about the relays. So 13, our 4x1 relay, they got second place. That was Antonia Pierce, Asia Mountain, Ava Mountain, Damani Robinson. Our 13-14 4x1 relay, they won gold. That was Ava Mountain, Isabella Dixon, Kimball Alderman, and Aisha Mountain. Our 7 and 8-year-old boys 4x1 relay, they won a gold. That was Brady Golden, Drayden Gilmore, Camden Drayton, and Carson Bird. Our 4x1 mile relay, they won a silver. That was Cooper Walker, Samaj Fuller, Demetrius Frazier, and Malachi Morris. Also, we had our 13-14-year-old 4x1 relay. They won a silver. That was Brody Marshall, Cameron Thomas, Malik Thomas, and Zaylin Thomas. Also, some of the other kids that are here, I'll go ahead because they do have lots of medals. We do have Carday here, he third place in the discus of buns. We have Brody Marshall, first place in the long jump, 14-year-old. We have Brody Marshall, third place in the 200-meter dash. And I had to say something about Brody because Brody has been with us for probably about 7 years. And he's going out, and his mom said this is a bittersweet moment for him because he is going to high school, which we have other people as well. So I'll go back also to some of our other girls that placed. Again, we have McKinley Thomas to his first place in the 100-meter. That's a goal. Again, we have Aisha Mountain, second place in the 200-meter. And Kim did the 3,200. Kimber did the 3,200 and she won the silver. That was a long race. Also, that's it for, I'm sorry, Madison was second place in our high jump, Madison Butler. Demi was second place in the long jump. Second place in the high jump. Help me out here, y'all. Okay. Oh, I'm getting that. Okay. And okay, so that was it for our girls. I did not forget Ava Ovington. Ava is a newcomer with us, and she came this year. And Ava came, and she's a 13, 14-year-old. She broke a state record in the discus for a 90, and she threw a 91.03.5. And Ava Overton also broke another state record in shot put, throwing a 41. And she and one of the good things about Ava Overton, she is 7th grade. She'll be back next year. So we're excited that she's back. I'll go through the boys. I think I have all the boys. Did I say you, bro? Okay, so let me do Braden Bolden because he did get individual event as well. Braden came in second place in the 50-meter dash in 7 and 8-year-olds. He came second place in the 7 and 8-year-old 200-meter. And we have Quentin Long. He did third place in the long jump. I think that was everybody. Now, what I don't want to forget is our coaches, because we had some longtime coaches came and they volunteered. That's the key thing. They volunteered. So I'm going to talk all of the coaches. They're not all here, but I do want to let everybody know of the more people that volunteered with us. First, we have Langston Gamble. Next, I have Yolanda and her husband Craig. He's not here, Richardson. We have Juanita Richardson, Vandy Richardson. We had a whole Richardson clan. They've been with us a long time. We have Coach Mayana Best Mountain. Jasmine Hubbard. Jonathan Daniels. We also have Maria Mangrum, Brianna Gibbons, Brad Chatton. We have William Ocean. And we have one of the best moms to step in and do whatever we need her to do. And she's definitely, and you're saying that she definitely stands on business. And that's Miss Karen Dixon. And that's it. I'm sorry. I didn't want to step on Miss Mary.
I want to say, we said last time when we had our state championship winning girls basketball team that we were waiting on you all to be recognized so we could have a benefit and a banquet to say thank you for all of the hard work you put in to bring recognition to your city, but not only to your city, to your county, not only to your county, but even more so to your family and friends. We understand that it's work, not only hard work, making sure you stay up with your grades, making sure you're doing what your parents need to do, making sure you're keeping yourself focused, but to also do what you need to do at the gym. We are so thankful that you represent our city. Really quick, whereas the Brunswick Recreation and Parks track and field qualifying boys and girls demonstrated great athleticism, determination, and team at the Georgia Recreation and Parks State Track and Field Meet. And whereas these talented student athletes finished the track and field meet with 12 golds, 23 silvers, and 9 bronze medals, scored 330.5 points and finishing 4th place as a team out of 40 teams. And whereas one of the highlights of the meet was a Georgia Recreation Arts record that was broken by Ava Overton in the shot put throwing 41.5 feet and the discus throwing 91.0 feet. Whereas talented students under the guidance of seasoned professionals brought recognition and pride to the newly revived Recreation and Parks Department. Now, therefore, I, Cosby H. as mayor of the city of Brunswick, on behalf of the city residents, do hereby recognize and celebrate the athletes under the guidance of seasoned professionals for bringing pride and recognition to the newly revived Brunswick Recreation and Parks Department. For a picture, I'd ask that the commission just stay there. I'll come up there and join you. You stay standing, and if we could grab a picture from you.
I'll put it back on the side, leave it here.
We're going to give them a second. I know I can't root from my seat as the mayor, but it's a high school with some blue and gold. That's
Red and white.
That's
red
it.
and
All
white,
right. Okay.
Red, white,
Red
red,
or-
white, red and white.
We'll now move on to number 3, which is recognition of the winners, Georgia Cities Week Essay Contest. So if you all could come up to the front for me. There we go. That's the one. Number one, I want to say thank you for all of the work that you've put in, because writing is not an easy thing. It's always to take what comes into your brain and to put it on paper. And for you all to recognize for that amazing work really touches my heart, but it also touches the of our entire community. We thank you for representing our entire community, only with what you do in school, not only I'm sure what you do with your friends, but I'm also taking the extra time to write beautiful words about the place you live, the place you up in, the things that your family gives to you. And we count ourselves blessed to be a part of your greater family and your community. So after these awards, after we give you the applause, if you ever find yourself needing anything from myself or anybody in your city, you feel free to come knock on the door. Our door at City Hall is glass. You can see us all the time. So you come on in and knock on the door and share some time as you guys keep growing up and go on to represent our beautiful community. With that, I'm going to call them out one by one. Miss Aubriana Johnson. She already has the wave down and everything. I love it. Miss Charlea Clay. And Mr. Wyatt Johnson. Miss Clay, I want to say that you stand out. My last name is Johnson too, so you're up here with a lot of Johnsons. But we are thankful that you're up with us. If we grab one picture, we can ask the commission to stand. And we also have some medals for you all and some gift cards for you all. So you can take those, spend them if like, or you might have to give them to your parents. But either way, we're happy to be for the hard work that you have done, and we hope you have a little fun with it.
Mayor, can I ask what school again they were from? I know Wyatt's seventh grade, but what?
Yes, please. So school and grade, and I'll hold the mic.
Seventh Frederica Academy.
Fourth grade, Goodyear Elementary School.
All right. Thank you all so much. Right, we are going to keep it going. Number 4, we are going to do a proclamation presentation to the U.S. Coast Guard and the U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary, recognizing week of May 18th through the 24th, 2024, as National Safe Boating Week. Good to see you guys again. I want to read the proclamation first and then say a few words to you guys. Whereas National Safe Boating Week brings attention to important life-saving tips for recreational boaters so that they can have a safer, more fun experience on the water throughout the year. And whereas for over 100 million Americans, boating continues to be a popular recreational activity, and the U.S. Coast Guard and its federal, state, and local safe partners encourage boaters to explore and enjoy America's beautiful waters responsibly. And whereas 650 people pass away each year in boating-related accidents, in the 75% of these fatalities are caused by drowning. And whereas a significant number of boaters who lose their lives by drowning each year would be alive today had they worn their life jackets. Whereas safe boating begins with education and preparation, as here accounts for most boating accidents rather than the boating equipment itself or environmental factors. And whereas through basic boating safety procedures, we can help boaters in America's waters stay safe year round. Now, therefore, I, Cosby H. Johnson, as mayor of the city of Brunswick, along with my fellow commissioners, do hereby recognize May 8th through the 24th, 2024, as National Safe Boating Week in the city of Brunswick, Georgia, and urge all those who boat to practice safe boating habits and always wear a life jacket while boating. I want to say a quick word of thank you from our community to you all for your service, not only to our local community and making sure that we move in the right direction in these spaces, but also the connection with our armed forces and making sure that we are safe across the board. I want to highlight something as well. I want to give a big shout out to the work you all do to make sure those around the community and those throughout our community know how important swimming is. And with that, I want to give a big shout out to Commissioner Roll, who is an initiative to give free swim lessons throughout the city of Brunswick, so we can people are safe and ready when they find themselves on a boat or playing around water. So we want to thank you for all of the hard work that you do.
Right?
We're going to do some real work in a minute. Recognition of, hold on, we are now doing a proclamation and plaque presentation to our retiring municipal court judge, Judge O'Donnell. If you could please to the front for me. I want to say this to Judge O'Donnell. I've been lucky enough not to have to come before you. I haven't, the tickets haven't been that bad as of yet. But I did have the pleasure of meeting you when I was knocking doors in your community. And I knocked on your door and you came to the front as nice as ever. And we shared conversation about where this city could go, where you thought this city could go, and how we could all make it better together. And I am beyond happy and have learned a lot from you and thankful for your wisdom, because the time that I've been able to spend around you and your leadership in our city, I know it has made it a lot better. So I just want to say personally for your work and everything that you've given to our city. Whereas the city of Brunswick is sustained by the efforts of devoted professionals dedicated to improving the quality of life of the community and dedicated to protecting individuals, families, and children. And whereas Judge Christopher O'Donnell has served the Brunswick Municipal Court for 11 years, displaying discipline and upholding the laws that increase the well-being of our community. And whereas the city of Brunswick is grateful to Judge O'Donnell for his dedication and commitment to the residents of the city of Brunswick, for a strong sense of justice, fairness, and respect for all parties in the courtroom. Now, therefore, Cosby H. Johnson, by virtue and authority vested in me as the mayor, do hereby proclaim Wednesday, May 15th, 2024, as a day of celebration honoring Judge Christopher O'Donnell, our retiring municipal court judge. Judge O'Donnell, I'm got a picture here to get with your plaque and your proclamation, but I never want to have a moment where I don't give a judge the microphone. And so I want to open it up to you to say a few words, and I'm happy to turn this around for you.
Appreciate the good applause. My job for years was made very easy by two people, one person and one group of people. The person who made it happy was Diane Dawson right there. The other group is the Brunswick Police Department. They're the finest policemen you're gonna find anywhere in the country. I had never had a problem with them. Never thought somebody used to get over on them. They're just protecting our. And if we could give a round of the police without all. Again, thank you very much.
We are now recognize Mr. Michael Waters for 35 years of service at the Brunswick. You could please come up to the front. There is much to say after a round of applause like that. I wish I got that when I opened up the meeting each time. I want to say it's been a blessing to watch the growth of the fire department since I've been in office. But I know that that growth doesn't just happen in a spurt. It happens because people put a years and time and effort and love and tears kind of into the work. And we know that with 35 years of service, not only were you doing that, but so was your family. And so we want to say right now, thank you also to your family for their 35 years of service to this community as well. I I also want to bring up that since I've been in office and since many of us have been elected, we remember the catastrophic fire at Panova, and we understand that it was our fire department, it was you all, it was the brave individuals of the Brunswick Fire Department that were first to that scene, first putting out those flames and protecting our citizens, the first to be on a plant fighting a fire that you weren't sure what was burning, but you guys ran directly into that smoke and directly into that fire. I know that is a day that I will never forget, but it is also a day that our community will never get because you all's unbridled bravery really saved and protected our community today. I want to thank you again for your 35 years of service. And from what I'm told, and I hope I'm not wrong, that today is your actual 35th anniversary. So we want to say on the special and perfect day, happy 35th anniversary, and thank you for being with me. And all right. If I have Assistant Chief Angela Smith come to the front. Assistant Chief. I feel like me and you church hop together. I feel like every time I'm visiting a church, you in the same church. And that's a good thing. Because that shows the depth of passion and understanding and love for this community to not only show up in uniform, but to also show up in the community. Not only do what we've asked you to do to protect and serve each and every one of us, but do the hard work to continue to grow yourself, to continue to be better in the job, and to continue to be better for our citizens. And we have come to understand that that doesn't just happen by talking about it with lip service, but that comes by doing hard work. And you not only do the hard works in the streets, You not only do hard work in the churches in the community, but you also have done the hard work in the classroom. And you've done all of that work and made it look insanely easy. You've done all of that work and still looked amazing. You done all of that work and it was still nice to us when we had questions and had the capacity to love on our community as well. So we wanted to take a moment from our mission, from those who get to work with you every day, from those who get to see the what you do every day, to say congratulations for receiving your master's degree in organizational leadership from Bethune-Cookman University. Oh, let's get
Mayor, before you, I said,
Yes.
oh, to be a Delta girl. Congratulations, Captain, Smith. Seeing your grader. Look forward to your grader.
All right. It's a good celebratory mood to start out with that. Man. All right. We'll give it pause for a brief moment to let it clear out and start back. We will now move on to public hearing for new alcohol beverage licenses. Dixville Foods, owner Mr. Patel, manager Mr. Patel, business address 09 London Street, deputy.
Good evening. I am here presenting Dicko Foods for an alcohol license. They were deferred a couple months ago for Secretary of State. And so we got all that taken care of. We are here tonight for questions or concerns. It's Mrs. Patel again.
I apologize, Mrs. Patel. Please really start out with you. If you could tell us a little bit about your business, what you all sell, and go ahead. I'm sorry.
We have a convenience store at 9 London Street. We sell food, hot foods, and we like for the alcohol license now. So it's like a complete convenience store where people can walk in and grab whatever they need.
All right. With that, I'll open it for questions or comments from the commission.
How long have you been the owners of that particular of the location?
2018.
20. And then you say you sell snacks, groceries.
Yes, ma'am. Sodas, food. We have hot foods as well.
Okay.
And we did the alcohol.
Okay. So you have like I guess you would say minor groceries. So milk, juice, eggs, bread,
Yes.
cheese. Okay. And 2018 and
Yes.
everything with the business, like you've been able to stay open because you've been making money?
Yes, it's
Okay.
been the since 2009.
Mhm.
My mom owned that store and I took over in 2018.
Okay.
Hi there. Who did you say you purchased the store from or?
My mom.
Oh, okay, it was the transfer then.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am, yes.
Thank you. That's all.
And help me understand. I will be honest that I consistently agree about the proliferation of alcohol in our communities, specifically when there are several options to buy beer and wine or, any other type of alcoholic substance, within, I would probably say less than a, 1,000 radius. And so I worry about where these stores are located and how these stores impact the communities that they are located in. And so with that, my first question is, current, do you all sell alcohol or have you sold alcohol in the past or will this be the first time selling?
So we actually applied for the license last year and we just missed our renewal period. So I think it was like 5th of January this year when we reapplied and when the laws changed and we had to resubmit all the documents, I think. So it just took a few months than what we anticipated, but we had alcohol license last year.
Okay, so you were selling alcohol last
We
year.
were selling, we just missed renewal period, so we had to renew the license for this
Okay.
year.
And do you have any idea where the next place that you could buy the kind of alcohol that you all are talking about selling? You know, how that place would be in proximity to you all
On Gloucester Street.
on Gloucester Street? Okay. And would you say that's 1 block, 2 blocks?
I went about 3 blocks.
About 3 blocks away.
2 or 3.
2 blocks. Okay. Thank you so much.
So in addition to, actually it's 3 locations, 2 on Gloucester. You have the one across from Shroglo, you have the gas station next to Shroglo, and then you have the Chevron that sells beer and wine as well. So 3.
So,
2.
whenever you have the, you utilizing under your LLC, SKAB LLC, doing the business, the store, Dixville, because it's still named Dixville Store.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
do you have any other entity under your LLC?
No, ma'am.
Just the Dixville Store?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
What's your involvement in the community?
I actually work for a food company on the island. So we provide frozen food throughout the country. And then we actually donate ethically. And we have Safe Harbor contribution where my owner is a part of the organization where he do donations and help the community each month. We actually go and help the kids. We schedule a meeting, have lunch party or dinner party with them, take them out every month. So that's how I'm involved through my owner in the community.
Okay, so I'm gonna be more specific.
Mm-hmm.
To the immediate community in which your location is located.
Like the Dixville Food Store. Yes, so whenever they need help, we are out to feed them. We do once a year, we have a cookout where we give out foods and drinks to them. Whenever they have their reunion, we provide them drinks every year.
I can barely hear you.
Sorry. So when they have reunion every year, we provide them drinks and whatever they need. We have cookouts every year for them. And if they need any help, we are there for them.
Okay, I asked that question because I am a resident of the community. So I do know that you all contribute when we have the bill reunion. I'm not sure about the other things that you have mentioned. Do know that you all do contribute to the Dixville reunion. So I'll be looking for that because we are having our reunion coming up in June. I just wanted to kind of get the intricacies of how you all are actually servicing the community, because every time we have meetings, I think one of the biggest things that we fail to realize or we fail to ask is not that you're just having a business located in that community, but how is that community better because your business is there? For me, that's the deepest question. That's the foundational question that as a DIOS, I think that we have taken the intricate look into see how the businesses are actually benefiting those communities. And so it's not just the question being posed to you all, posing that question to everybody that comes up. We don't care where it's located. But how is the business, and that's why I asked you that question. How is Dixville? How is Habersham Park? How is Windsor Park? How is the south end of the city the better? Because you're now saying we want to sell beer. Not, I know you've missed a gap in there, but how is it better because your store is there? How is that community's employment rate? How are the people benefiting because your location is there? So I just want to leave that with you, because we want to put that message, make sure that message resounds to any business that's coming to do business in the city of Brunswick.
Besides family employees, do you hire or have any other individuals working within your store?
Not right now. We used to employ a person, but not anymore. We have family who helps.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions? Hearing none, we'll open it for a motion. Or this is public hearing, so people have, right? There we go. I remember this time. It is a public hearing, so we will open it for any public comment from anyone that has it to speak for or against. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Seeing none, we will. Oh,
I just want to say this right quick, because the Dixville Coalition is not currently active. We don't currently have an NA that covers, well, they have the historic NPA, but there's not a NPA. And the Dixville Coalition did serve as that entity at one point. So we have implemented as a committee that there has to be and needs to be that important conversation with that community, and to see and gauge how that community feels about locations as such being in their communities, because we are saturated. That's we're real about. We're saturated with businesses as such. And so we have food deserts in certain areas. And so I know that you all are selling the eggs and the milks. I think everybody's been trying good up here by Commissioner Martin to ask that question. Are you selling the eggs and the milks and the bread? And so I would go further to even ask, have you all considered selling the raw vegetables or the healthy alternatives that are also needed in those communities? Not just the beer and wine. You don't just need beer and wine in the communities. We don't just need eggs and milk. We need the raw vegetables, those healthy alternatives, to also be offered in varying locations.
Yes, carry vegetables,
Awesome.
all different kinds in the fridge. And we maintain, whatever they need. Like if they have special requests of any different kind of foods that we don't carry, we will have that the next day
I
for them.
love it.
So we do get feedback every now and then, and we try to make sure that we have that product for them the next time.
Awesome. Thank you much.
With that, we'll open it for motion. Before we do that, I will be very honest. My vote isn't contingent on how amazing you all are, because I'm sure you are amazing individuals. Mine purely has to do with the saturation, beer and wine, tobacco product sales at a very low price for individuals who continue to consume those things at a rate that makes it unhealthy for the neighborhood. And so for me, while I understand that alcohol is a profitable sector, I do believe there are other ways to make profit, especially in a multiplicity of communities. So that's kind of what my thoughts about. So not necessarily about you all are serving even the milk and the bread, and I appreciate that. Mine is more of you know, if you can get to the product 2 blocks away, then, you know, we have a saturation in a certain area.
You stated you missed the renewal, time period, but in the time from December or January 1 to now, in comparison of last year, the year before during this time period, how has your, sales, income from your business? Have you noticed a dip, the same, improved? What's from not selling alcohol and
It's definitely has gone down. Our customers are mostly on foot traffics. When they, when they knew that we don't carry alcohol until we get it renewed, they have stopped coming in completely. So that has kind of affected because they can just walk by and grab a beer or two.
can you give me a percentage of your loss or a numerical number, pretty much?
My manager would know. I don't actually know the
Okay.
numbers to be exact. There were a decrease in food traffic for sure.
Say again.
It was a decrease in food traffic for sure.
You had an increase in food?
No, a decrease in food traffic.
Oh, foot traffic. Oh. Sorry.
You're
And
fine.
one more thing, can you pronounce your first for me, please?
Way Bubby.
Say again?
Way Bubby.
Thank you. Mrs. Patel.
One other ask I would ask is, because I do in the area, I know that area. So one thing I would add, as you're asking this of us this evening, is to help us to contribute to the cleanup of that area. Again, I know the area, so I'll know the needs in that area. And so what I would ask of you as a good community partner to the city of Brunswick and to help with efforts that we have going on, we need people of your caliber, the business owners, any of the vested stakeholders in this community period, to help us with the initiative of cleaning up that area. And so you're there, so you already know what I'm talking about.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Wonderful. With that, we'll open it for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we deny the sale of beer and wine at Dixville Foods, 1509 London Street.
Hearing the first, do I hear a second? I will second. Hearing the first and the second, all those in favor show by the sign of aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same. Hearing none, the motion passes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll now move on to updates. Number 10, code enforcement with Mr. Hunter.
Thank you, Mayor and Commission. I appreciate the opportunity to be with you tonight and give you a little bit of update on our code enforcement staff and things we're seeing around the city. Code enforcement's a little bit more than what some people may think and be aware of within the city. We look at it as holistically, where we deal with permits and licensing. That can be building permits, occupational tax licenses, certificates of occupancy, and we do various inspections related. We have our building department that looks at building codes, enforces those building codes, and then we have what most people typically think of as code enforcement, which is our general code enforcement officers who are dealing with junk vehicles, overgrown lots, things like that throughout the city. One thing that we did in 2016 is the city consolidated all of these functions a single department and created the Department of Planning, Development, and Codes with the idea, because so many of these things are interrelated, it would help us communicate between functions and also better serve our public as well. Our code enforcement staff goes through regular certification. The state of Georgia, with the Georgia Association of Code Enforcement Officers and the Carlton Institute at UGA, have established training programs. We're lucky to say that we have 3 of our staff who are level 3 GACE certified, which is the highest certification level you can achieve. We have 1 other officer who just got his level 1, which takes 18 months. And we have a 4th staff member who began that training back in March. You go to training for 2 weeks annually to go through that. We also have 2 of our code enforcement officers, Officer Joyce Depp and our building official, Chris Jones, are board members for GACE. So they're heavily involved, not only code enforcement locally, but in the training of code enforcement officers statewide. So we have great staff who know what they are doing when they're out ill. So how do we approach code enforcement? We kind of take a page out of Chief of Community Policing. We're on the street daily, almost all day. Most of my staff comes in at 7 a.m. They're out in the neighborhood at 7 a.m., mainly because that's a lot of time when you can find people. It's before they've gone to work. If they work overnight, it's when they're coming home. And it's when we can actually get out and talk with our community. And we also find that by doing that, we're able to not only get information about concerns that we have, but we're also build relationships within the community as well. Also take a compliance first approach. And what we mean by that is you're not going to, most of the time, you're not gonna be immediately hit with a citation. You're going to be given an opportunity to learn what the code is, take corrective action, and move forward through there. Our primary focus is with our code staff. The things that come up to the top and are the things that we're out looking for on a regular basis: illegal jumps, vehicles, overgrown lots, dilapidated structures. We had tenant complaint process, and we're watching for work without permits. This fiscal year to date, we have had almost 4,200 calls or contacts within the community. That's in 10 months. That's as of May 1st. That's on pace to be a little bit ahead of where we've been the last 2 years. One reason for that is we added 1 more member to the staff this past year. We're also looking to add another member right now. We've got a job posted, a little behind in interviewing on, so hopefully we'll get that added soon. Within those calls and contacts, we've dealt with a little over 1,600 illegal dumps. That's actually down. Right now, it'll probably be down about 600 over 2 years ago. One of the changes that has been made is working on educating the public that we do regularly. If we have an illegal dump call, typically what we do is you see the signs that have been all over town, people information about how to handle bulk pickups. Typically, when we've got an illegal dump, we go door to door on that block, and we're there to distribute information about what are illegal dumps, how to deal with bulk waste. We'll also leave contact information for our code enforcement staff along with that. Junk vehicles, next highest item that we deal with. We've dealt with a little over 300 in the 10 so far this year. That's a lot of junky cars. Those are some in the right of way. Those are on private property. That's something that we've really been hitting in the last 2 years real heavily. And overall, as we do work on this kind of compliance first opportunity, a lot of us don't develop into cases. People, we go up, we ask, inform them of what the code is. Most, you know, 3 out of every 4 people basically comply. But obviously we do end up having a lot of cases. We've had a little over 1,100 cases so far this year that are developed. Typically what that leads to, one of the reasons you don't see those going into what are called NOVs or citations is because they are things that we can't trace and follow up on directly, like an old dump. One of the things you have to keep in mind with code enforcement is that they are legal processes. So just like the police department, when there is an actionable complaint or something like an illegal dump, have to have evidence that we then take forward and be able to cite someone for that action that has taken place. We can't assume, unfortunately, that because it's on the street in front of your house, that you were the person that put that there. Hopefully, we've got willing neighbors who have seen some there, or in some cases, people leave mail and things like that in the dump. So we're able to identify and trace people down from there. You'd be amazed how many times we find within those dumps, we trace it back into out in the county. That's pretty regular for us. So within those 1,100 cases that have been developed this year, we've issued.
Mr. Harder, can you say that again? I feel like I heard you, but
About the county.
most of the ones that you
You'd
trade.
you'd be surprised. I don't have an exact number,
Right.
but we have a significant number of cases that when we do have this, it leads back to people in the county.
Okay.
Not within months.
Thank you.
And that's something we've identified as a problem. I don't know exactly how we end up dealing with that other than hopefully we're a person. At times it is apartments or rental units that have been emptied out. That person's gone, but whomever has emptied out that unit comes into the city to dump those items.
I take pictures of them when.
I know, I hear from you regularly.
All
Those cases, we've had 142 notice of violation issues. What those are typically letters that we send out to violators identified and gives them a time frame to take corrective action. But you can see from that, we've had 111 citations. So typically, that warning level, got a certain number of people who are going to do right, and we got a certain number of people that they're not going to do right until they act right into court. And that's reflected in the 111 citations that have gone through this fiscal year. You know, it's a process, and our staff takes it very seriously and works very diligently. We have the city broken up into 4 zones. They try between those weekly, depending on our 3 main code enforcement officers. They each have a specific task that they specialty. One is dilapidated structures and overgrown lots. A second is illegal dumps, and it is junk vehicles. And so they rotate through those 4 zones for the course of the week. But they will also work on other cases that are there. But that's what they're looking for when they're going through those areas. So, it is a very time-consuming process. Anytime we develop a case, that's office work that we're going to be, we wind up work. That's time when we're here on Wednesdays, sorry. Wednesdays, we've got our own special, thanks to the court this past year and a half. We've set up our own enforcement time with court so that the only thing that comes in during that time are code enforcement related cases, which has really streamlined the process. Our judges done a great job over the last year to 18 months, really understanding and helping us by the time it gets to the judge, serious case. So we have increased our amount of fines, we've increased our number of convictions, and it is working. We can't do it alone. First, we do have y'all's support. I'll say when I started working with the city 9 years ago, we had just a second code enforcement officer and had one building official. Now between at a combined area, we'll have 3, 4, 7. So we've been able to increase our staff and support city commission. But we do need help from the community. So, we appreciate that as well. And I'm available for any questions. I think I have taken a code enforcement question from all of you. Hopefully answered any issues that y'all have had in your areas. But, we're always happy to hear from you and have other eyes out on the streets with us.
Perfect. Questions or comments?
I just wanted to say thank you so much for taking time to create the presentation and to come before us. I just wanted pretty much a presentation done just like you did, so that not just we can be informed, but so the public can know, the process of how you pretty much deal with waste and do things. But those numbers are pretty high, and I hate that people choose to dump in the city. My thing is always cleanliness and blight, right?
Yeah.
Overgrown grass, properties. Every day I wonder, I'm like, is there ever a solution for that, right? Like, get a big dumpster and just get everyone one day to just come everything, but then a week later it'll look the same.
And I think educating the community as best we can, it helps. Every little bit helps. Everywhere we make progress somewhere helps. But it does get frustrating when
It does.
you've had an issue and you see it cleaned up and it goes away for a few months, and then all of a sudden you've got, a large pile of construction debris on your skin. And we totally understand the frustration because we're out there seeing it every day.
Do y'all have a number of people that actually show up to their court date, and is it landlords or renters? Because we know that the majority of the city, pretty much everyone's renting.
So it's going to vary from case to case. I would say that, and case type, illegal dumping is those cases, typically it's not a property owner. A lot of times it's somebody who's been hired to clean out a rental unit for somebody that's been evicted. And that's just frank. That's what we find pretty regularly. That's or construction debris of some type. A number of times we'll have somebody. In fact, that's one way that we catch a lot of unpermitted work is when we find a pile of construction debris and we start knocking on doors, and somebody will open the door, and we can see they've gutted the house or something, and we'll find some things that way. But there's not a whole lot of consistency about who it is.
And one last question.
Yep.
Tires, because I have a question as well as some of you might. We know that they're not items going to be picked up. So where should tires be taken? What do we do about that?
I'll need to get back to you about that.
Okay.
I know at one time East Management or Republic was taking them for a fee, but I don't know for certain that they are. But you'd have to take it to their transfer station. It's not something they'll come and pick up. That's a tough one that we deal with. When we pick up tires, we collect them and they go to public, and we end up once a year or so bringing in a haul or two and pay for that. Unfortunately.
Commissioner, we also have a
fire amnesty that we're organizing. I don't know the specific date, but it should be coming up.
Yeah, there's normally some grants.
There is a really difficult disposal process.
Yeah.
So, okay, thank you.
And if I'm not mistaken about that, that's something, a program that EPD helps normally. I know we've done it a couple of times in the past.
Okay,
We-
thank you.
We did it, when Bren was here.
Yeah.
And we did the cleanup, but Bren went after grants to help with that. And Golden Hours Beautiful was involved. And that's a huge undertaking, because of the disposal and the cost of disposal tires and
Yep.
stuff. And I'm not sure if, Republican knows take those tires and stuff. It was a big ordeal.
Yeah, it was a big
because
ordeal last.
people are like, we don't want these. It's a huge undertaking to get rid of, and the cost. People realize the cost of
Yep.
doing it. But as Commissioner Rose speaking, it's an understanding, a significant role that code enforcement plays in all of what we're trying to do. And it was in a training that we had gone to that they were talking about changing the mindset of enforcement and how we looked at code enforcement because of the roles that code enforcement can actually play in all of the efforts that the city takes. And it's not just issuing a citation because you're issuing it, but it's issuing a citation to correct actions. It's issuing that citation as a warning, but that's going to lead into a larger, I want to say penalty, but it's going to be a cause and effect. It's going to cause them to do what needs done. And so it's changing that mindset of what code enforcement actually does in assisting in the efforts of the cleanliness of the city. And so to see that change and having it sitting in the seat for a little while, seeing that change of when I came in we were scaled, we were bones in that area. And so now we're putting some meat into that area and an investment into that area that needs to be there. And so I'd like to even see more code enforcement persons out because I do see them now and I see the effect that it's having. And like they used to tell us when I worked in the field with IRS, they would tell your presence in that field makes a difference. You can't just sit behind the desk and threaten somebody and never take actions on your threats. You've got to have follow through on those threats to make people believe that, yes, we're here and we mean business and we're going to do what it takes. On the other side is the landlords and the responsibility that I think that landlords should have, regardless of whether they hire a third party to remove or evict a tenant. It's their responsibility to come back and whomever they have hired to make sure that the job is totally done. And it's not done when you're evicting somebody and everything out of that house is now sitting on the curb. That's for me, that's a continuation of responsibility. I don't know how we're gonna go about it. I leave that to the legal beagles. But should be an afterthought to the continuation of this process.
Yeah.
Because if that tenant does something else and they're not paying, they're gonna go after them and make sure they get their money. So why are we setting at the point of saying, well, it's not the landlord, it's the tenant, it's the third party that's been paid because they've been paid to get rid of it. They've been paid to get rid of it, but they're coming and dumping that cost on the city, but they've been paid to do it. And so now the city is having to eat those costs of disposing of this stuff when that third party has already been paid. We catch them that in lawn services.
Yep.
They come and they dump all of the clippings and everything. They dump it around the city. I take pictures. I take pictures of car tags and everything I can catch. I send it in because, and even brave enough to get out and say, hey, listen, I know you already been paid to dispose of that stuff. Don't let them back by here and see that pile. I've taken a picture of your tag And so until we can start to doing those things, then it's gonna continue. But you got to say something when you see it and make sure that the community understands that, and make sure that the landlord and property owners understand that.
Yeah, definitely.
I like, what's the legal process for overgrown areas on private property? Like when can you explain?
So, there's, we can handle it two ways. If it's a lot that's unkempt, overgrown, of cleaning it, it's not right. We will do it. We do have to give a notice of violation, which don't for overgrown or junky yard, we'll give 15 days for cleanup. Well, citation, that may take about 30 days to get it into court, but we'll get the quarter, Public Works will go clean it up. If it's a situation where it's going to be an expensive cleanup, that will be longer because we need to do a slightly different court order that requires us to get a title cert so that we can then lien the property and recover those costs down the road. And we try to use our best judgment on that, working with Brian, working with our code enforcement staff so that we're not outstripping our capabilities with Public Works and burdening them and recapturing as much as we can. Yeah, if it's a really heavily overgrown lot, it's going to take a bit longer to deal with that than we would like. But if that property sells down the road, it has that lien on it. And depending on how big of a lien it is, we can actually go through a traditional interim foreclosure process and be able to foreclose on that lien and take the property.
I mean, in either option, it's almost 99% of the time there's not an ascertainable owner, meaning there's not somebody we can in touch with. If we can get in touch with the person, we bring court on a citation and seek out a $500 fine, in hopes that they come into compliance. So in the options John laid out, those are if there's not an ascertainable, and that's often the times when there's a vacant lot that is overgrown with weeds, trash, junk. It's probably an heirs property or tax delinquent, something along those lines.
I have some ideas. We'll talk.
We'll talk.
I have some ideas about living in that.
Always get the goats back. We could always seek out the goats and try to back out into service if we need to.
And just one more question. Whenever we have, that's it. I'm okay. I'm good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I wanted to run through some quick ones.
All
I don't think you'll need your laptop for them. We're just gonna be spitballing. What code, or not necessarily code, who takes care of animal issues?
Animal control.
Yep.
So there
But
are,
even like, or not necessarily loose animals.
Yeah.
We got a problem with that. And I have seen
animal,
like county out
animal
more.
welfare issues.
Yeah, and where if there was a code about how you keep your dogs tied up, how
That's
how
all animal.
animal control.
And they have been bringing, there has been a significant increase of them bringing this through municipal court as well.
Okay,
Yep.
good.
Yeah,
Because
the
there are
last
several.
Been
year,
I
they
think,
have really
right.
stepped up.
Since probably November of last year, I think there have been control cases on every code enforcement docket.
Good.
They're tricky, but the
Yeah.
animal controllers are always here,
Okay,
ready to present their cases.
good.
and-
I saw them out in the community. Definitely happy that they're there. I just wanted to make sure that there was
And both the police department and code enforcement do assist in to respond as well,
Okay.
because we've got a little bit better access.
Yeah. I appreciate that. The second one, and this may be a question for the city attorney as well. Can we can we amend the structure? Like, right? So if you do something, let's say on a whole, these numbers up. These are not real numbers, okay? So if you have somebody and you know it's an owner occupied residence, you know, hit them with $100 fee and say you need to get this up, yada yada yada. If we know somebody owns 40 properties in the city of Brunswick, and not only we're not talking about overgrown grass, we're talking about the fact that those who are renting that facility are scared to talk about what's not being kept up in the house. Can we say, listen, if you are a landlord and this fee is normally $100 for your primary, then this fee is going to be $1,000 for you. Is that legal, illegal?
I mean, it would be treated as a singular code enforcement violation, and the maximum fine that can be assessed by the judge is $1,000 per violation. He has full, or she has full discretion as to the amount assessed. So yes, they could look at the facts of the case and say, there is an event here that has generated a complaint, code enforcement's gone out, you have not corrected it. What would always be, and the standard fine for something like that, a code enforcement violation for a safety hazard, would be $500. They can fine them. I mean, they can $1,000 and up to 6 months in jail. So we have been serious discussions about that with the judges, and I think they're receptive.
Okay.
We,
Because I go ahead.
as a good example, I think it was back in 2018, we had a tenant complaint case where when we went in and documented everything, I think he ended up with about a 10
Right.
fine
Okay.
in order to find housing and vacate the premises.
Okay.
And
So in that instance, they would cite him for plumbing, electrical.
individual items.
Each individual item could up to $1,000 fine.
And do you all, when you go before, you all make a recommendation, or is this you make a recommendation?
Yeah, so typically, when a citation gets to the judge, we have a case file that goes along with that. Sit down and go through every case, give him all the background and knowledge of this person's been cooperative, but they aren't compliant yet, or this person's been resistant, or this is the time we've had this person in here for. And we enter all of that into the record along with photographs and typically a recommendation to what they would like to see happen at the property.
And the $1,000 limit, is that set by us or state?
Both, essentially. We've adopted what the maximum penalty would be. So
On the state level.
well, yeah, but through our ordinances. Remember, ordinance violations are different than like a state code violation. So
Right.
it is I believe it's within our jurisdiction only to assess up to $1,000 fine.
Because you're married. Okay. Last I got is there are obviously some homes that seem to pose an actual safety hazard to the community, that they are so overgrown that they are literally falling in on top of themselves. Do those houses exist in a separate category of, you know, even if we can't find an owner, actually it is incumbent upon a city to tear down because of safety?
Yeah, and that's something. That have been demolished over the little over last decade. We have a list of another 200 or so dilapidated structures that we've posted and declared unsafe. It comes down to a funding level that we have to be able to get to, be able to do that, and catch up. I mean,
So not
but you're
necessarily,
talking-
per.
just on the demo side,
Got it.
not to mention the legal fees, everything else
So
that goes along with
I
that.
guess what I'm asking, I'm trying to,
Are we endangering our liabilities for not addressing those facts?
yeah, like, is there a space where we could look at a judge and judge, we had to tear down this house because
Oh.
it opened up liability for the city because it is a dangerous property, like irrespective of who the owner is.
Well,
I know that's probably a dangerous line. but-
cautioned by saying
Yes,
it wouldn't
Commissioner.
open up liability city necessarily, but if we are presented, and we have several times in the past 5 years been presented with a structure that does pose an immediate threat to either health, life, safety, or an immediate threat to collapse on the neighboring properties in good
Right.
condition, we have exercised emergency petition, take demolition action against those structures, sometimes partially, because then we come back in an emergent situation. The law is written in a manner that you're not going to be able to lien after doing the work on the property. So
We would have
if
to
we
eat the
went,
cost.
if we circumvented all of the work we have to do on the front end demolition and filed an emergency petition without a title search, without notice to any interested party, et cetera, we can do it. And we can then abate the emergency actions on the property, but we cannot lien after the fact. So what we've done in the past, I can't remember exactly where it was. One was leaning, well, I do know where one was, G Street, where they've renovated the brick building
Mhm.
close to the Manor House. There was a, I don't know what you want to call it, a facade that was dangerous hanging over the sidewalk. We filed an emergency petition, just removed that portion, did not demolish the whole property. So it was a limited financial burden to the city. And we did that so that we knew we wouldn't be able to lien it. We've also done one that the house was very clearly leaning dangerously and probably being held up by the vegetation that had overgrown it. We filed an emergency petition to demolish the portion of the structure that was going, in fact, the neighbor's house,
Right.
and then went through the full demolition process to be able to leave property later.
Okay. Okay. That's all the questions I have. Thank you. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'll now move on to under items to consider number 11, approval of the May 1st, 2024 regularly scheduled meeting minutes. I'll now open it for a motion.
Motion to approve the minutes as were previously presented.
Hearing a first, do I hear a second?
Second.
Hearing a first and a second, all in favor show by the sign of aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same. Hearing none, the motion passes. Move on to number 12, consider approval of Community Development Block Grant, or CDG, funding for fiscal year 2024 and the annual action plan. Mr. Bravo, you've had a long day. I want to say from our commission, thank you for the work that you've done to bring in, what was it, 70 some odd people to the Roosevelt Harris Senior Center. They did a lot of landscaping, helped out, cleaned up around the place, and really just loved on the facility a lot. So thank you for setting that up. Thank you for being instrumental in making that happen. And when you get a chance to say thank you to the families who we met today, please send our thanks to.
Thank you, Mr. Cosby, commissioners. Good evening. Yes, that was a long day. We had 75 youth and we have probably about 15 adults. So you're looking at least 90 people working on the yard, and seniors were thrilled. So now they have a new place where they can hang out, not just outside, but also outside now. So that was a great project. Today I'm here because on behalf of my department, I'm here to present to you the Community Development Block Grant Program that we every year, the City of Brunswick. My department partners with the Office of City Manager every year. We propose the numbers to City Manager looks at them, we make some minor amendments, and then we basically go through in front of the Finance Committee. After that, we mainly do to promote the numbers or what we're gonna do with each section of the grant, which breaks down in 6 different sections. We basically put ads in the newspaper. We promote it through the MPA. We send emails to the stakeholders within the city, and we go to our social media, make sure we get a footprint on there, and also we put annual action plan in the city website. For this year, we basically work with the year from the number from the previous year, which was $412,000. I'm going to round those numbers up. And what we did is we took the same number from the previous year and take that number and basically break it down in different fractions, just like we did it the previous year. So for this year, $35,000 for admin, $2,000 for fair housing. We propose about $60,000 for services, which are your nonprofits. We propose $70,000 for addition, $20 for a housing, basically repairs. Part of that also includes the public facilities, which is repairs that we do for public facilities. They're going to serve community, sidewalks, different buildings that provide service to the community in general. And we propose $8,000 of those. And after that, we come up with $412,000. We did receive the email from HUD, which is your Housing of Urban Development, and we were allotted this year $391,000, which is a decrease in what we expected. Just to put that number in the big scheme of things, in 2020, and I'm going to round numbers up, in 2020, we got $384,000. 2021, $389,000. 2022, $387,000. 2023, $412,000. And this year, $391,000. Now, this is a grant that is an entitlement grant that we get from HUD every year. So we have no say in how it's going to basically be allotted to us. We do everything we have to do based on the guidelines that we are proposed to us, and we follow those guidelines. So it's not a fault of anyone just because we have a decrease in $20,000. HUD has these weird numbers that they use: the population number, the poverty number, and the overcrowded units. They put all these numbers together, and that's how they come up with this fee. So it becomes really complicated for us to see how exactly you're going to calculate that number. So all we have to do is make sure that we submit everything on time, we follow the guidelines, and then we have to sit and wait. That works with HUD. So just to give an idea, what we basically readjusted, we took some money out of the demolition section, which now is going to be $60,000, and we took some money out of the home repair, which now is going to be $209,000. The reason why that is because the nonprofits that we approved, those were basically working a different way because we have to go through it. We created a CDBG board, and the nonprofits submit to us their RFPs. Once we get the RFPs, we make sure they are according to the guidelines, they have everything we need. And once we do that, then we propose those to the board. And the board goes in for 4 or 5 hours, one day. They get all the documents a week or 2 weeks prior to the meeting. And they look at everything, and basically we send everything to them, and they're the ones responsible for making the decision who's going to get what and where. We don't dictate who's going to get the money within the community in those nonprofits. Reason being is because we want to be impartial. We don't want to get involved in those areas because these are nonprofits that are helping the community. As every year, the bulk of it for this year basically is concentrated on the youth. $60,000 were divided among 6 nonprofits. All those nonprofits, basically, they get a specific amount. And to say that added the numbers or the proposed numbers they're going to help this year, and it's going to be 700 children that they're going to be providing assistance to. Those are all within the city of Brunswick. So I think that's important to to remember because that number is a big number, especially when you're trying to help the youth. And these are youth that are in foster homes, these are that have been abused, they've been neglected, and they've been abandoned. Part of it too is we provide after-school programs, summer programs. So all this money is being flooded into these nonprofits to basically provide that assistance to nonprofits that are actually helping the community. Another aspect of the process that we implemented, and we do this here, and just to give you some dates here, we held public hearings on February 27 of this year. We did one, probably for about an hour. Then we did another one on April 10th. The thing we were trying to get feedback from the community. And then we posted the annual action plan for 30 days from March 29th through April 29 to see if we can get, we're gonna get any feedback from the community. No comments were submitted, so we moved forward with the process. Again, we went through the finance committee as well and make sure that they were okay with the numbers. And so far, they approved that as well. So at this point, I will take any questions if you have any regarding the process or the amounts that we basically anticipated.
Okay. I'm looking through the packet. First, how many nonprofit RFPs did you receive here?
I believe we received 8 of them.
8.
Yes.
And what stakeholder, you say you notify or send letters to the stakeholder city? What stakeholders, or do you have or how many or how?
Yeah,
do you
we
get
have
your
about
list?
100, I believe 175 stakeholders. It's a mix between public agencies, private businesses, private entities, real estate agencies, name it. We basically attack every possible area of the community that has anything to say or wants to be part of the process. That's basically what we do. So the intention is to get people involved in the grant and see what we're doing basically, because they have a say in what we the money. That's pretty important for, at least for my department, to make sure that they're well informed. MPAs are part of those too. We send emails, invitations, thing to them as well. It's going to impact their communities as well. So we have to inform them.
Okay. And so basically, who set the guidelines when you say, when they fill the application, who set those guidelines to make to meet?
The guidelines are set by the Housing of Urban Development. Basically, that department provides specific guidelines that we have to follow when they're submitting RFPs, and we're proposing that to them, because the annual action plan is basically a proposal that goes to the Housing Development Department. And they have to look at it and say, we've been lucky that every year we send it out, it comes back positive. So we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, basically.
Now, in this, of the 8, did you approve all 8 or all 6, or just 6? I heard.
No, we don't approve anything. My
Well, not
department,
approve, but within your proposed, but right here, outline projects.
yes.
On page, well, I don't know, 16, I'll let your, and then behind that you have itemized, have given descriptions.
Correct.
Now, you were saying there was a board that looks, okay, they eat and accept. Are all 8 within this in this packet?
No, they're
Not. So you all kind of like accept it.
we only the ones that have been approved by the board.
by
The
the-
reason being is because we pre-screen the applicants, and there might be a lack of financial sustainability, there might be a lack of information, there might be a lack of goals. It could be a lot of things that disqualify them for providing. Sometimes we have businesses applying for it and they're non-profit. We have to decline them.
Okay, looking on page 16, you have 2 through 9. Those are the RFPs that you receive, well, the nonprofits you receive RFPs from. Am I correct? They
These are the ones that were approved by the board.
So 2 through 8.
Correct.
Well, 2 through 9. So when you're looking at
Exception of, yes, you're right, 2 through number 9, that's correct.
2 through number,
That's correct.
all of those were approved by your board.
Correct.
Okay, so you're looking at Brunswick.
Correct.
Okay, so my next question is, when these people receive, or these nonprofits receive these funds, what type of artifact evidence that you receive or checks and balances of funds are being used like they are asking, request to propose to be used for?
Well, one thing that we look for, they have to be financially stable. They have to provide a budget that we can see how things are being paid. That's one thing. Two, which is a key aspect of approving those grants, it's they have to serve a low-income section of the community. If they don't, means they're not gonna get approved.
So I'm talking about after the fact. They received the funds. I think y'all have marked here for June, target June the 30th. Well, received the funds.
Correct.
What evidence did you all collect, checks and balances, to say that you did what you have proposed to do? I'm not, because anybody can present a budget.
Mhm.
Do they present documentation
Yeah.
of actual expenditures, not just saying it on paper now, that they have done these things?
Yes, part of the reporting, because this all quarterly reports. Once they're approved, we move in the new fiscal year. Every quarter, they have to submit a report to us, in which it's going to contain your demographics. It's going to contain what you achieved that quarter. And also, it's going to contain all the receipts for expenses that accumulated for that. So if you're applying for example, for administrative expense, which most of them do that, it's going to be your salaries, it's going to be your operational cost. Look at time cards. We look at what they did, who's working where. So and also when it comes to demographics, they have to provide copies of who they are that they're helping.
Do you all actually, and I'm just gonna go, I'm just happy because this is actually a facility. And I mean, we kind of like know when we have experience with other organizations on the list, but take Brunswick again. That just, because that's an actual business, even though it's nonprofit. You all, and besides that particular business, do you all actually go in to see, besides the self-reporting, and during the school, I'm using school year, but during the year, fiscal year, do you actually see this actually happening, the work done? The only one that I have seen or has provided evidence, and I have to say, is Coastal Outreach Academy. They actually inform us, have provided actual evidence of the insult of the usage of those funds. So do you, do y'all go in, and if a person say, well, today we're working with 1,000 youth, and you said we're gonna get mailbox, I'm just using an example because I'm reading this packet. You're gonna do these mailboxes. Do you all actually go physically see these mailboxes, or will be seeing these mailboxes?
That's
or
correct.
You say, I have going to build 3 ramps, wheelchair ramps. Do y'all actually go see the actual wheelchair ramp at that 1727 O Street? Just giving that example. I don't.
Yes, no, we actually, a lot of people in the room know that I'm actually a director. I like to be out in the field.
Okay.
A sitting director, which there's nothing wrong with that. But I do like to get involved in my demolitions. I like to get involved in my home repairs. I like to shake the people's hands when I go and fit things. When I demolish something, I make sure that I want to know what am I demolishing, who's there, the owners. So we partner with different departments. Now, as far as your question, yes, we do have one site visit that we do at IE, which is required by HOT, and we have to inspect the facility to make sure that it's safe and they're doing what they're saying. Coastal Outreach Soccer is one of those that we visit. All of them we actually visit and make sure that they're doing what they're saying. Safe harbor. We go to the facility, we see the children, we see where they keep their paperwork, we see who works there, who is who. We put a face with a signature. So we do our part, and obviously we met the criteria that HOT is proposed to us. And that's part of the process. We do have to do that. Another example, when we do facilities, which is something that we've done in the past, I'll give you an example. When we did the sidewalks in Newtown, we actually had to do weekly inspections on the workers and drop by and make sure that we wrote their numbers, their names, social security numbers, paycheck stubs, driver's licenses, to make sure to ensure that the funds were being used properly and also to protect the employee. So we knew they were not being taken advantage of. So that's part of HUD, or some of the guidelines that HUD imposes on us when we're working with these people.
So these dollar amounts, are these what they request in their application, or you all just,
No, these amounts right here that
Arbitrarily.
you're seeing are the ones approved by the board.
right, they are approved, but the dollar amounts, are those
Yes.
amounts that if doing the application,
Mhm.
and they say, well, I want $7,819. Do you all, that's from the requesting applicant, or this, that you all analyze that this is what we can get?
Well, I'll be honest with you, all of them ask for 20,000, which is the max amount, most of them.
Okay.
But they know they're not gonna get $20,000. So then the board comes in and then they work the budget based on experience, based on finances, based on the time they've been in the community. They look at different things, they make those decisions. There's a score sheet that we provide. We say, why are you scoring this in the specific manners? So we treat everything to make sure that if anybody has any questions or a nonprofit comes to, hey, why did I get 3,000 instead of 20,000? We can provide everything. This is the reason why you get only $3,000.
Could the commission get a copy, example of that score sheet?
I'm sorry?
Score sheet, not something, blank copy of the score sheet
Yeah,
that you use.
yes, I can
Okay.
provide a copy, sure.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Oh, I'm sorry. Invite Commissioner Atkins and Williams to be a part of the process next year.
Sure. We tend to pick people from different areas of the community, like to make sure that there's a mix of different people, different backgrounds, even citizens. We like to take part in this decision-making process. And it was working very well because we don't get involved. We provide obviously the facility, the paperwork, and they're the ones who run with it and make sure that it's done properly. So,
Right. And I make that just because I've gone through that process, so I understand the magnitude of the selection process, the documentation, but so she can get familiar with it because she is coming on trying to understand
sure,
process so that she can experience that process.
sure, yes, we can definitely
Yeah.
make you part of that board, yes.
Additional comments or questions?
I just want to ask how many at the dollar amount for demolitions? How many are you projecting?
Inflation, initially, we proposed $70,000. Unfortunately, obviously, because they're up in $20,000, we're proposing $67,000. However, here's a catch, though. I still have $5,000 left from the previous year. So when you add it up, we're going to end up with $72,000.
Right, not so much the dollar amount. How many?
Oh, how many? I'm sorry. I thought you said how much. Well, those are difficult to call, but typically we do anywhere between 2 to 9 demolitions a year.
Average cost is what, 30,000?
Well, depends. In my case, you can spend anywhere between 4,000 to 10,000 per property. It depends what kind of structure you're looking at. Brick, you're looking at wood, looking at half falling apart. It could be one that is burnt. It all depends. And typically I work with John. John and I, we partner depending on the urgency of the demolition. We move fast with those. If not, then it's a program that is to the community. So
Is it an average?
an average of
Demolition. Average.
right now with inflation, I'm going to say about $7,000 to $8,000.
Any additional questions or comments?
I have a question, but I think I already know the answer. So when you mentioned the dollar amount that will be awarded and how they choose it based off of certain levels, so they do pretty much, they base it on the city of Brunswick or the county.
No, it's the city.
Okay. 'Cause
Yeah, this grant only
that one
applies.
word,
Yep.
poverty should have us at,
Yes,
at a little bit more than that.
this money is given to the city and we keep for the city. It's just for the city. Even demolition, housing,
No, I meant, when you were talking about the determination of how they
The
award.
award.
Oh, yes.
Basically, that's
Yes,
what I'm
yes.
trying to say, like, we should.
Yeah, no,
always
that's
be at the
correct. Yeah,
top
you're
of-
right.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
that's what I
correct.
was, yeah.
Yep.
It's city specific.
Yeah.
depends on how like he said, it depends how defects,
Uh,
does their calculation. That's why he was
Right.
saying because of the different factors and variables that they
Correct.
have in the formula, they contemplated one amount based upon prior whatever factors in there.
Well, in
But it
general
depends on
terms,
how they-
Commissioner, in terms, what they use is the population, the poverty level, and the overcrowded housing. Those are mainly your three things you're gonna look at it. How they come up with those, sense is one thing that they look at it, and that's something that is affecting us. Obviously, housing, that we're working on those with the Office of City Manager also, that has an impact on us. So there are different things that they look at it. I don't know the specific equation they used, but I do know that, it varies.
Yeah,
So-
because I was asked that too, but understanding all those different variables and all that stuff you never know from year to year what you're actually going to get until the award is actually made.
Correct.
So, yeah.
But we don't get penalized as long as we do our jobs and we're following the proper procedures that HUD is giving us. We don't get penalized. It has nothing to do with what my staff does or what the city, the Office of City Manager. It has nothing to do with, this is something totally independent from what. Obviously, if we were to jeopardize the program, then that is gonna count against. But that's not the case with the city. We're pretty much on top of it. That's not something that would come up, actually, so.
You may not be able to answer this, but the Golden Isles Veterans Village, that's the one on G, correct?
Correct.
When do they expect or will have any occupancy? Or when, I mean,
Well,
was
they,
that part of the application?
yeah,
Because
well,
they're
they
not submitted
submitted,
out
they
yet.
submitted, they have a grant already for a fence that they're being, and also for the mailboxes. Right now, they are in still, I haven't talked to the director yet, but I will have to meet with them and see where they are at with the progress of this thing, because I haven't seen much movement going on there. And based on that, then we might have to have a talk and see what exactly is they, I don't know if they ran out of money. It happens with nonprofits. Sometimes they run out of money and they don't provide the reports. So it's something that a conversation is doing just to make sure to check and see where they are at, with their grant point.
And I know this is not, but last Thursday, we had that big storm, potential, I guess, tornado. I mean, did they grounds, those houses, make through it? Because you're very low and it's in a bowl. They sitting in a bowl.
We took a tour, and before they even build anything, I know they have to be approved by the city. So they have to be up to code. Assumption is if they're building those homes there, it means the city approved them.
I understand assumptions.
Correct.
Thank you.
So,
David, last thing, and I know
Sure.
we pushing time here. Uh, but can you just kind of explain to them, yes, the grantees are approved for these certain amounts of funds, but then the distribution process of those things, are the repairs are doing the work before, and then they're bringing in the documentation and they're being paid based upon the documentation up
Yes.
to that dollar amount that they are approved. So, I mean, I've been here for a while, so I kind of know the process, kind of put.
I walk you through it. So basically, it's a reimbursement process. You submit the report every quarter, we see your expenses, and we issue the check. Now, they exceed more than 50% of the total grant. So if you get a grant for $8,000 and you get a report the first quarter and you want $8,000, we're gonna deny that because you're asking full amount. We cap it at 50%. We see the expenses, either equal to that amount, then we'll issue the 50%, or we cut it at 50% and we roll it over into the next quarter, and so forth. The ones that are pretty smart, they'll break it down in 4 sections, equal amounts, and they get the money. Some are in more need than others. Sometimes they'll get the 50% first quarter, and then they get the 50% on the second quarter. So those are that we pay close attention, because the last thing you want to do is have an audit from HUD and they see that we're not following the proper procedure. So we're very careful when it comes to money and issuing reimbursement to nonprofits, just to make sure that if by any accident we get a call from HUD and hey, we want to see everything, we provide those and they're all there. As a matter of fact, we did one 2 years ago. One representative from HUD was here from the state, from Atlanta, and they found no issues at all. Some areas of improvement, which is normal, but as far as the finances of the program, there were no issues at all. So,
Also, in addition to that, that scoring sheet, could I also get a copy of that, the guidelines, please?
sure, I can get that for you.
Any additional questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll open it for a motion. Number
I'd
12.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the Community Development Block Grant Fiscal 2024 Annual Action Plan.
Hearing a first, do I hear a second?
Second.
Hearing a first and a second, all those in favor show by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Hearing none, the motion passes. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you so
Babo.
much. I do
Appreciate
appreciate
Thank you,
it.
David.
Thank you.
Now move on to number 13, consider tentative approval of proposed 2024-2025 fiscal year budget.
Good evening.
Good evening.
This is our tentative approval of the budget for fiscal year 2024-25. And basically, we started our process in early March with the culmination of information being gathered by the departments. I want to thank the department heads and the staff for all the work that was done. We feel that this product of the budget is also the result of, from the guidance and directive of the commission, and also in response to citizens and concerns that have been expressed throughout the year. We feel that this budget does provide adequate and efficient services for the city, as well as improved services, some improvements to our services, as well as expansion of our services. I will go through the highlights of the budget. The 2025 budget is $22,773,044. It's a 12.3% increase over the budget for 2024, but it's only a 5% increase with the actual revenues that were generated in 2023. So we feel that the budget projections are conservative and sound, although it looks as if it's a substantial increase. The budget includes property taxes of $5.8 million, sales tax of $10 million, and other taxes of over $4 million. That's $20 million of the budget in taxes, which represents 8% of our revenue. The budget also proposes to use appropriate fund balance of $750,000 from the prior year sources, and also has increases in municipal court fees and fines, and building permit fees and rental revenues. The budget includes authorized personnel, 244 full-time positions, but we only budget 227 positions. We are requesting approval of 8 new positions in the budget, including 4 for our housing department and 4 for our public works right-of-way maintenance. The budget also includes 3% COLA increase that would be administered mid-year as of December. Key initiatives in the budget for the upcoming year includes we funded our housing program last year. We will roll over those resources. We're also adding some administrative costs for housing. So we'll have those expenditures outlined in the budget. We have the micro-transit system that we have the RFP. That RFP has been submitted, I think, 3 times to DOT for review. And we're hoping that we'll get approval to, put that RFP out soon. And that shifted our schedule, but we still have funding for the micro transit in the budget for next year. We also have the additional street maintenance personnel. Other additional highlights in the budget is the purchase of an Axon public safety equipment system for the police department, and that's to upgrade all of our tasers, body cams, and computer systems for the police department. We have $30,000 of administrative for the administration of short-term rentals. We may not use that. We are looking at other alternatives and options, but we do have that funded in the budget. We added $75,000 of additional legal fees for litigation and additional legal expenses that we anticipate. We are funding the land bank at $75,000, and we also have $50,000 for continued support of incentives for our frontline employees. In the SPLOST, which is, we're proposing to spend $200,000 for the purchase of a fire apparatus. That's a one-year payment. We are looking to buy a new fire truck, but it will be in installments over the next 6 years. Total cost of that item is $1.5 million to $1.7 million. We have $75,000 that we would like to allocate for assessment of our public safety facilities, and all $286,000 for purchase of police vehicles, $299,000 for purchase of public works vehicles, $150,000 for the Ritz Theater HVAC system, and $350,000 for a new accounting system within this. We are on schedule with our budget. I did the initial presentation on May 1st. This is our proposed approval date of May 15th, where we can notice in the paper as required by state law and have a public hearing scheduled for June 5th with tentative approval of the budget scheduled for June 18th. Just to quickly review the revenue proposal for the budget, as I stated, about $20 million of our budget is tax revenue. We have $550,000 of license and permits, including our business licensing and permitting. We have $120,000 of intergovernmental, which is our state grant, federal grants, fees and other costs for services. We have $364,000, and that includes the cemetery fees, recreation fees, and other fees. Fine, we have $350,000 from municipal court, and then another $559,000 of miscellaneous revenue. Again, we have $750,000 of appropriated fund balance for the total $22 million budget. On the next slide, which is just a recap of the revenues, just shows that we have 44% of our budget from sales tax and about 35% is from property tax. In looking at our expenditures, we have basically most of the budget increase is due to the salary increases for the last year. And as you know, when we increase our salary, it also increases our costs for pension and their associated costs, taxes, and things like that. Just looking at the expenditures, I think I've covered most of the things that are increased in the budget: legal fees, the information, the addition for the short-term rental, the land back, the funds for judges, Axon. We have about $508,000 of expenditures for the asset on vehicles that were being bought through the general fund in addition to what's being bought through the SPLOST funds. As you can see, we also have $230,000 to add to our housing programs, and the $500,000 to add to our transit. On the next slide, it just gives a recap of our expenditure, showing that approximately 50%, over 50% is for public works, fire, and police, with it 16% of it as general admin and 8% government admin. And looking at our personnel, total personnel is $16,386,000. Of that, over 10 million, well, $12 million, or 27%, is for salaries. We have $1.1 million for insurance, $1.3 million for retirement, another $1.1 million for Social Security and other personnel expenses. You move over to the next slide, and the next one shows the kind of a pie chart that gives the, as you can see, about 186 of our employees are either public safety or public works, remaining balance being in the general administration, planning, and community services. Next slide shows the proposed operating changes, including the 4 positions that we have for housing, the 4 positions we have for public works. We're proposed to move the deputy marshal's position from police to planning, and that's just a transfer of supervisory for the position. And also we have the conversion of 2 full-time firefighter positions to part-time. We also have the $120,000 for the 3% salary adjustment. That concludes my presentation. Have any questions?
I will ask, outside of major questions that the commission hold their questions for their one-on-one meetings with City Manager McDuffie. I know City Clerk Atkinson is working to set those. So unless you have very broad questions, maybe that she could answer quickly, I would ask that the commission hold those questions till you have your meetings with her, mainly because we have the historical preservation presentation after this. I don't want to stop all questions, so if there's some major ones that we want to ask here, please do that now.
Right now, I just have one burning question. I noticed that we have allocation for a new accounting software. Is that just money proposed to buy a software, or have you all selected a software?
No, we haven't started the process yet. We'll go through an RFP process, and that is one of the most, I guess, integrated processes for our accounting system. So we haven't started that process at all.
Are you looking for, or how far are we out from hiring our finance director? Are we looking for that person to be involved?
Well, I would like for that person to be involved. We do have a recruiter working with us now to try and get someone on board. But we will start probably look at other softwares just to find out, kind of get ahead of the game and start developing the RFP.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none. Thank you, City Manager, for that update. And again, we'll all set those meetings so we can a little bit deeper into the numbers for us. Need to vote for tentative approval, or is this discussion?
Yes.
Only? Vote. Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll now open it for a motion to consider tentative approval of the proposed 2025 fiscal year budget.
I move that we, the tentative.
There you go. No, it's all good. I got her sheet.
Yeah, she can have my sheet. Tentative budget for 2025. I think that was like
Here it is. Hearing the motion, do I hear a second?
second.
Hearing the first and second, all those show by a sign of aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same. Hearing none, the motion passes.
Thank
Thank you. We will now move on to city attorney items for discussion, recognition of the Visitors Club as a local landmark site and ending a preservation ordinance for the property.
Yep, I will actually bring this over to John Hunter as he will be presenting on this matter.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. You have before you a recommendation from the Historic Preservation Board to recognize the Viz Club as a local landmark site and as to enact a preservation ordinance for the property. Under section 5-24 of the City of Brunswick Code, one of the powers that is given to the Brunswick Historic Preservation Board is the ability to recommend to the City Commission properties that it believes should be designated as a local historic property. Historic property is a building, structure, site, or object, including the adjacent area necessary for the proper appreciation or use thereof, deemed worthy of preservation by reason of value to the City of Brunswick, the region, or the state of Georgia, one or more of the following reasons. One is it is an outstanding example of a structure representative of its era. Two, it is one of the many examples of a past architectural style. Three, it is a place or structure associated with an event or person of historic or cultural significance to the City of Brunswick, state of Georgia, or the region. Or four, it is a site of natural or aesthetic interest that is continuing to contribute to the cultural or historical development and heritage of the municipality, state, or region. As y'all know, over the last couple of years, the Visitors Club Fund and the Tourist Foundation, along with the city, are working diligently to preserve the exterior of the Visitors Club. I'm not going to go into all the history and everything related with that out of the essence of time tonight. But I know from my experience living in here and my experiences previously being a resident of Glenn County who came here for vacations for most of my life, it's one of the most recognizable buildings in Glenn County. It is what most people think of as not only what Brunswick did as their arrival to the Golden Isles for whatever function they were coming here for. The efforts over the last few years to preserve that has been a terrific partnership and something that will continue. But as we spoke within the Historic Preservation Board and with the members of the group that have been working to preserve it, we felt that recognizing it as a local landmark was important for its continued long preservation. The Historic Preservation Board believes that the Visitors Club satisfies all of the above criteria that were previously stated, as it's a preserved example of Spanish Revival architecture that was popular in the 20s and 30s in resort areas and particularly influenced by the construction of the cloister on Sea Island. It is only 4 documented Spanish Revival structures within the City of Brunswick. The Visitors Club is also associated with famed architect Francis Abreu, and it is possibly one of the first welcome centers or visitors in the country, which makes it a unique historic resource. And that for generations, the Visitors Club has been recognized as the point arrival to the Golden Isles. This would be the second time that the Preservation Board has enacted this process. The first, Oak Grove Cemetery being either part of the historic district or something that was created. It's not nationally recognized, but as the Grove Cemetery Society started working with the city to help preserve the history there and restore the grave markers and start to use it a tourism component for the city, we enacted a similar ordinance. Basically, a partnership between the Historic Preservation Board and whomever is utilizing the property, so that y'all can be certain as a governing body that the is being cared forward, and any changes that are being made to it meet state and federal standards for historic preservation. It's a request before you at this time. We do have, I think, 3 members representing the preservation board here tonight. Our chairperson, Will Worley, Josh Duke, Gary Spencer, and this before you. We do not need an approval tonight. Or Brian, can you explain the process for the approval?
Right, so this is technically an ordinance that you'd be approving. It's an amendment to our code, not in not in the standard sense that you would see we were amending a section to change, but in order to recognize these properties as just being historically preserved, the city commission has to pass an ordinance. So like adopt it into our code of ordinances like you'd see on Muni Code, but you would be sign the end of this process a formal ordinance that is ordaining this property to be his preservation. So we will have to advertise and then bring it back at the next city commission meeting for a public hearing, and then it would be available for approval.
Thank you. 2 more things real quickly. One, I think y'all all are aware that this project received a historic award from the Georgia Trust for Historic Preservation this past month as their annual meeting in Athens this year. And we also did this in recognition of Historic Preservation Month for national right now and leading into the 100th anniversary of the Causeway.
All lining up perfectly. Want to thank you for your work. Thank you to our board members. You guys stuck it out all the way to the end. You're so enthusiastic. You know, we did the best to keep it fun for you here. No, but thank you for that you all put us in. It's helped us get to this point. And I, for one, am definitely in favor. And I know moving forward, I think a lot of people in our community will be as well. Thank you, Mr. Hunter. With that, any executive session? Are we good to go? Litigation. So we will adjourn for executive session. Open it for a motion.
Motion to adjourn to executive session.
Hearing the first, do I hear a second?
Second.
Hearing the second, all those in favor, show by sign of aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same. Hearing none, we are adjourned for executive session. We have returned from executive session. No action was taken. We will now open it for a motion to adjourn. Hearing the first and the second, all those in favor, show by the sign of aye. Aye. All those opposed, the same. Hearing none, we are adjourned.